Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dance of the Soul. We are here with Regan Forson and Susan Burrell.
Burrell, yeah.
Burrell. We are here to support you in your day-to-day dance of life, and that's why we call it the Dance of the Soul, because we understand that the soul dances through many lifetimes, and we are here to represent that in realities of our world today, and how can our soul do the work that we need to do. And sometimes when you get the bigger picture, sometimes our souls and our daily humanness gets a chance to do the negotiation. And I'm Natasha Venter. I am a multi-life intuitive. I am also a medium and an energy seer, and I love to do feng shui. So I advise people on how to negotiate with feng shui to help themselves do better in their life. And this is Regan Forson. Regan, hi, welcome back. And
Hi.
we'll introduce Susan here in just a minute, but I
Okay.
wanted to say hi to Regan since he's my partner in the dance here.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, been on the road. It seems like for forever. Well, 3 weeks in San Diego, LA, Bakersfield, Fresno, down the California coast, and then Tucson for a week, and then back. And it's been really, really, really nice. My name is Regan, as you can see on the screen, Regan Forson. And just so you know where I come from, I work with the Newton Institute. That's the main focus of my life right now. And there's 256, I'm one of 256 trained certified facilitator therapists, I guess you'd call us. And we've been doing afterlife research for a lot of years. So what we do is we're trained to help people achieve a deep state of trance, which about 90% of people can. And in that state, we have discovered that everybody has a natural ability to access all their memories of past lives. They can actually see themselves pass away in another lifetime, turn around, there's a guide or an angel, and they proceed to allow my person in now time, with their life that they're living this time, spend a couple hours on the other side asking questions, visiting loved ones that have passed on, and oh gosh, a lot of other things that we've discovered. So that's what I do. And I also have a regular therapy practice, hypnotherapy, specializing in PTSD, fears, phobias, anxiety, depression, which kind of pretty much covers everything, that way. So we have a special guest, Natasha. You're going to introduce her, and I can't wait to hear all the words of wisdom that Susan has today.
Well, Susan came across us through finding us through the way that people find being on our show, and
Yeah.
and we were talking earlier that she's going through something. I'm not going to say because it's up to her, but she says you guys are just the ones that I was called to be with today. So I'm so grateful that you are. So Susan, welcome to our show, the Dance of the Soul here. Can you say a little bit about yourself, because I know that you are a magical woman to be with. So
thank you so much. I am just getting a lot of energy hits. So wow, thanks you guys. And I'm so fascinated by the work that you both do, because it seems that over the last year, I have a podcast myself, Empowering Chats with Susan Burrell, and a lot of the people that come to me, like I came to you, or we all came together. Who knows how it all? It's a dance, right? So who knows how we all pas-de-deux or twad together. But there's a lot of people I've been interviewing that are doing past life regressions, that have channeled books from the afterlife, that are also working with archangels. And there's so much information that it's always been there, right? It feels like it's always been there. I know it's always been there. There's so many.
Yes, it has been always there.
Centuries, but it feels like it's very potent now.
Yes.
Very potent. And I don't use that word lightly, having been all those other people that were beheaded and dunked and thrown off cliffs and in past lives. So thank you for having me and dancing with me today. I through a series of life journeys, I eventually found that I am an intuitive. Having been suppressed at a very young age, told not to say those things, don't do those things. I don't know what you're talking about. You're over emotional, la 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 la. And then going through life experiences, a contentious divorce after 28 years, coming back to myself, took all my life skills, all my spiritual skills, all my tools to remember the truth of my being, which is actually the truth of everybody, that I am intuitive, I am empathic, I am a divine spark of the infinite, as we all are, and therefore connected to everything and everyone. And as I came back to myself, I began to recognize that what I do naturally developed even more. And so that's where I am now in this ripe old age of life that I'm living, and working with people, and teaching and doing guided meditations that I put on Insight Timer. All of that is because of this breakthrough that I personally had to reconnect to myself within myself. So that's kind of me right now.
I hear you there. Isn't it,
Tomorrow.
yeah, and isn't it amazing how life is a builder towards breaking us? The words that I want to come to is breaking us down so we can be a brighter light. It's kind of like, we have to fall off the cliff, kind of like, the egg that cracks, that old the old saying, and how can we become our better selves and lighter selves? By going through the trauma. I know for me, living with, 32 years with, the man I've lived with, and 4 years before that with another man who had addiction, and then now my husband's now almost 12 years sober, and, and that evolution, of breaking me down to build us both up at the same time.
I like that phrase, Natasha.
Yeah.
I like that life is a builder, because oftentimes people see life as something that happens to you, right? So you don't get to participate, but in order to build something, you have to participate. You have to lay a foundation. And that's some of the work I do with my clients, and it's in my the book I wrote, Live an Empowered Life, a 30-day journey, how to build a foundation after you clear the garbage out of your head, of your gut, of your mind, and then see, who am I when the dust settles, and then build a foundation with strong pillars of who you are. Not necessarily who you want to be or wish you could be, but who you are, because you got to start right where you are, right?
Exactly.
So life is a builder. Yes, life is a builder. And I often use the word life as a substitute for the infinite. The infinite is building us all the time as it moves and experiences itself through us. So
Exactly. So, Veronica, welcome. Veronica is one of my she's been a client of mine for many, many years, and is a dear friend. So thank you, Veronica, for being here. Yes. And that's, like for me, I used the word, when my husband got sober, it was a miracle. And then I call it a walking miracle, because it takes us keep building on it, keep, negotiating it, keep, unearthing it, building it up, unearthing it, building it up. There's been times where I almost thought I was going to leave him. And then, he says, "What do you want from me?" And I would just say, "I need grace. Just give me grace." And it would be thrown out, because he would think it would be all logistics of the 3D, I need, love. I need, you to do dishes. I just give me grace. And he was like, "Grace? What's grace?" And I had to tell him what grace was. I had to tell him, show him, because, he came from drinking since he was 12 years old. He didn't know, and then he was, in his 40s when he got sober. So there's a lot that he didn't know, because he was drunk all the time, so it's one of those things that we go through life, and it is about, I call them implosions. You got to go through the implosion to find out how it's inner for you to do better. So
that makes a lot of sense.
It's almost like most of us, or most people, I think, in this life, even though we may not be using alcohol or drugs, but we're still walking around in a daze, like it's almost like we're hypnotized into just, getting up, going to work, coming home over and over and over again and over again without really thinking much about the deeper things. But because of podcasts now, I think it has a lot to do with it. People that have been intuitive, like Susan, and people like you, Natasha, that have had these abilities.
And you, Regan.
We're finding out now that there's a whole troop of us, millions of us. And I think all this, the podcast we're sharing, a lot of people are thinking, wow, okay, maybe it's time maybe I really do have some ability here to connect to the other side. Maybe there is more to life. I watched on 60 Minutes last night, and I'm still thinking about it today. They're talking about the new telescope that we sent up, and the pictures have come back, and how, boy, I'll tell you, some of these astronomers have just been screaming at all the beautiful new things that we've seen now that we've never seen before. And they found now, at the moment anyway, it's the furthest away galaxy that we've been able to see, and they showed it on the screen. This it was orange, or kind of orangish, reddish or something in the distance, so you could see a little glob of light. And it was 30 or 35 billion light years away. Imagine that, going at the speed of light for 35 billion years just to get to this one galaxy. And, a few years ago, they discovered one that was closer in, and they thought that was the furthest. And now it just keeps going and going and going. And the other astronomer says that all of the space that they've looked at, it's just chock full of galaxies. There's no space that's not taken up, really. It's just galaxies. It goes on forever and ever. So, and here we are worried about little Earth, and us little grains of sand here.
Yeah, we're the grain of the sand. I know for
gosh.
me. Yeah, I know for me that I'm from a galaxy way. I mean, we haven't even found it yet. I know that I'm from a galaxy way out there, and most of us are. That's part of our life cycles.
So I'm sorry if I may, because
yes, please do.
I think it's very important for your listeners, and I talk about this on my show, to know we are living in life on Earth. Has always been dynamic. It's always been an evolution of soul growth. But this is a crucial time because the dimensions are opening up to us.
Yes.
And the beings, plural and different, on all those dimensions are being made available to us so that we can learn how to be a better human being.
Exactly.
So we can learn to expand. So it's no mistake, Regan, that you saw that that special with the whole new galaxy, because the multi-dimensions are, I don't know if it's really that time is collapsing, but I know, and the people that I'm in interface with all the time, everyone is saying that time feels like it's sped up.
Oh yeah, everybody says that. Yeah,
and that reality, I have a group of 6 women. We have been doing intentional prayer work with and for each other for 2 years, and all of us are being affected by the occurrence, especially this year. I mean, we thought last year was
oh no, we're in an evolution, and next year's even going to be more impactful.
And evidently, this is going on because we're bridging into the age of Aquarius. The age of Aquarius didn't happen when the 5th dimension sang their song. It's happening now as we bridge into that. And so many of us that are here, like the 3 of us here, but many of us that are on the planet, and after that pandemic that gave people a real strong, as a wake-up call,
Yes.
a real strong choice point. Do I stay
Yeah.
or do I go?
Mm-hmm.
And lots of people chose to go. That's my opinion. And it's occurring now. There's more portals. So if people really don't want to comprehend the accelerated growth process we're in, they can go. And my father, who's 89, is one of those people. He loves and adores me, and he doesn't understand anything that I do. So when because if I talk about this stuff with him, he goes cross-eyed and turns on a Western and that's it, because he's that older. He comes off of World War II, and then the Korean War was there, and the Vietnam. So all this aggressional stuff, right? And here we are in another aggressional stage.
Yes.
And I just want to say, hold on, everybody, because it's going to happen more.
We have to have more implosions so
right.
that we can expand out. It's that
So
because implosions come in and then it comes. It's this kind of coming in,
and that's the circle.
And that's the circle that's around every human. It's the aura circle. It's the aura thing that goes around the earth, and that's why I so attuned to the implosions, because it is about coming in so we can go out, so we can come in and we can go out, and
that's the divine feminine. Coming back into our awareness as human beings, because she was exiled for so long, or stepped aside so that humanity could see the other perspective. But that divine feminine is working now in us, through us, around us, through the circles behind me. And that's what you're talking about, Natasha, in order to bring balance, energetic harmony with the divine masculine. And consequently, the divine feminine divine feminine doesn't take shit. You no longer get to run your little story. And I point at me. I've been having big stories about my dad, about my family, about me, big stories. And those stories, while they are pertinent to how you frame your reality, they really are not why we're here.
No,
to run our
crumbling.
We are here to let go of those stories so we can become, like you're saying, Natasha, we can become more. And when the lockdown happened, I meditate. I do a lot of meditation. I channel guided meditations that end up on Insight Timer, the app. So I sat down with myself and I was asking my spirit guides and everybody I work with, what's mine to do? Really, what is mine to do? And I heard activate the light. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? Activate the light, please. And of course, the inside of me, I'm starting to shake because been here, done that, way too many times. And I heard activate light leaders. Not light workers. There's many of us that are working the light. We are light workers. But the leaders into this new paradigm of the divine feminine balancing with the divine masculine requires leaders of light. That doesn't mean you have to be center stage with a spotlight on you. That doesn't mean it. But you can be a light leader in your daily life, at your work, in your family, leading from that divine spark of light that I equate with love, with the energy of love, the vibration of love, and operating and leading from that, not from what was, because that paradigm's dead and everybody's beating it to death more. A dead horse, lots of flies. You get the picture. So the where we're going requires people that can sit with each other and listen. And then instead of judging and whatever else has been happening up until this moment, the moment and my voice is going over the airwaves, it no longer matters. That is the chaos that is necessary so that we can come out as new life, as you're talking about, Natasha. New life, that's what happens in nature all the time. In order for new species of plants and bugs and stuff to happen, chaos, entropy, I'm losing my words here, but stuff falls apart, it decays until that decay becomes the fungus or the growth for something new and something better and something more symbiotic. Because in nature, everything is symbiotic and they have to work together. It all
Well,
has to
and for example, the polar bear is a perfect example of that. Because the polar bear used to be more like the grizzlies.
Yeah.
Then because of evolution and need, they turned into more of the polar bear. Now you're seeing them have the evolution turning back again into more of a land bear. They don't need to spend time on the ocean like they did. You know, they're turning back into a land bear and getting back into, it's a slow evolution, but you can see it happening, and they're a perfect, example of how to work with it instead of against it. And that's the thing, is going to be the difference in if we're feeling successful in our life, is to work with this decomposing that we're doing to create a new story. And for me, one of my skills is I treat this morning as a past life. Yeah, that happened, last life, because that was the old story. I need to create a new story in this lifetime. So whatever's in front of me, learn from the past, like I do my past lives, but be in the moment. This is a life that I have now, and how can I create a new story as I move forward?
Yes. Yes.
Don't you both, or maybe what I've been thinking, because, coming from a Christian background, having a lot of my siblings that are, beautiful, practicing Christians, and what I'm seeing now too is it's like in the Bible, the book of Revelation is all about, when Jesus comes back again, and all of the, everybody that reads that, it's like reading a science fiction book, because it's just not, it's all so full of metaphors and things. But you can look around and you can see the things that are in Revelation happening now. But in a sense, I think it's almost like that's the kindergarten version of what's going on. I mean, not to demean that at all, but I mean, it's the bare bones thing about, in other words, Jesus coming back again, and people are going to have to choose. Well, what we talk about is this new consciousness is coming, and people are going to have to choose. And some will go forward and some will be left behind, just like in Revelation, and the people that are left behind, probably going to have a lot more craziness in their life and hardships and things to deal with because they haven't gone more towards the light, and I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe Jesus will reincarnate and come back again as somebody else, but I'm thinking that he's speaking metaphorically, in the sense of him, instead of him coming, it's the consciousness or something that's
It's the
returning.
Christ consciousness.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
Christ consciousness that each and every one of us, doesn't matter where you worship, has access to, because that Christ consciousness lives within us all the time. And many people have forgotten it, like you mentioned earlier, Regan. They've fallen asleep. They are pretending like they don't matter, or they don't need to make a difference. But we are all emissaries of light. And Jesus wasn't the only one. And Jesus is still working on our behalf, as is Buddha, as is Gandhi, as is Martin Luther King, as is Kuan Yin. They're all bodhisattvas that are coming and helping by either inspiring individuals who can hear, as above, so below. But it isn't that there is a man coming to save us, because the poor guy tried it one time. Who wants to go through that again?
Yeah.
But the second thing is, nobody listened. The third thing is, nobody practiced what he taught. They don't practice what he taught.
No,
they don't. And they pretend like they do, because if they practice what he taught, there are so many inequities, so much brutality that would not happen, because that is not what he taught.
Right.
Exactly.
So his assistants, along with many archangels, along with other entities that some people might squirm at, but Natasha alluded to, people from other planets, or beings from other planets. They're not people, but everybody is here to ensure that planet Earth moves through this transformation
Evolution.
so that the next golden age of humanity, because there's been a few, the next golden age of humanity is more enlightened. And we get to borrow from the past golden ages of humanity.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And stand on those shoulders and build a better foundation for human soul growth when we come here. So I apologize, Regan, and anybody that's listening if I said, but I'm straight up. I'm too old to not be straight up anymore. And I had been suppressed as an empathic child to keep my mouth shut. And I have chosen to not keep my mouth shut. And if you find it offensive, I apologize. And if you find it offensive, you might want to take a look at why.
Exactly. Those triggers are a reason. But I'm going to give a perspective here, because, Jesus is coming back. How many people are channeling him? How many are getting visions of him? Because there's a fact that I was with a friend who channels Mother Mary, and she says, I'm coming out more this year. She was on the front of Time magazine. She came out that year. So it's not necessarily how we think. Humanity, the human mind is so limiting. They are going to come out in the way Jesus is going to come out more. Like for me, I did a little message from Jesus yesterday because it was Easter, about how, he didn't care what religion you were from. He cared that you spread love, kindness, be human to human. Know that your mistake, the other person does mistakes. It's not about the wrong or right. It's about being in kindness for each other's expansion of love and lessons we have to go through. And the more that we can be that being of just, oh, look at you, you're having a rough moment. How can I support you in this rough moment? And be love, be that divine love. I know for me, I stay in the elementary school because that's where I'm spreading my light. People say, Natasha, you haven't walked down my end of the hall lately. And it's like, I never walk in your classroom. And they go, yeah, but I know that you haven't walked down the end of my hall lately, because of that energy that, I just walk in the room and people go, and that's not an ego. That's an observation, because I do walk with divine love,
Well, and I congratulate you on accessing your divinity, really, that light and love that you are, Natasha, because anybody can do that. So I want the listeners to know you can do that. It's not, you don't have to look at us and go, oh, I want to be like them, which I used to do a lot when I was younger. Oh, if I could be that amazing person up there speaking that truth that gets me going, I want to be that. But we're all that already. We're all that already. We were born that way. And our life experience, like you were sharing, Natasha, and I'm sure you've seen time after time, Regan, and all of your counseling and past life.
and just his life, period.
Right. Our life experience brings us to pivot points, challenges, implosions, like you're saying, Natasha, so that we can remember the truth of who we are, but we can also remember what else is it that our soul is wanting to grow by being on planet Earth. Because eventually we don't have to come back. Eventually we can say, I'm done. But when you're here, and if you continue to choose to stay on planet Earth, it is really about your soul evolution. It is really about looking at the challenges that you're facing and asking yourself, what is it that's here that I need to learn from? And sometimes give yourself a break. How about, today I'm tired of learning. I'm just going to go for a walk or sit under a tree. I'm not going to think about the thing that's got me by the ankles, trying to shake me loose.
Mm-hmm.
But really to recognize, a lot of people say, oh, life challenges are a gift. That's another one. They become a gift after you've got, at least for me, maybe you guys can go, oh, I'm having a life challenge and that's a gift. No, they become a gift for me after I go through the muck and the grind and the stuff and the tears and the sorrow and the grief. And I climb out of that pond of yuck and I stand up and go, oh, I see. Oh, that was a gift, but it could take 5 years.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's funny. It's like we're going through these difficulties and we're, in a sense, in our mind is going, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this, not a gift. Oh gosh, this is awful. We get through it and then we go, wow, that was a gift. It's like we that we do. So, So I think I know in all of our lives here, if we look at ourselves from when we were teenagers and to now, you can see a steady, list of life's issues and problems we've had to go through, making many mistakes, learning, and then finally now, so I'm thinking it's like, I feel like now that I'm getting much older, I'm just getting the hang of things and then it'll be time to check out. I'm thinking, I want to enjoy this.
To that adage of youth is wasted on the young, I'm like, damn, why didn't I know this sooner?
Because we weren't meant to. We weren't meant to know those things. I know for me, I was a very awakened soul from day one. I remember being born. I remember my contract coming in, and I remember being picked up out of the crib. This is just memories that I have, not meditations, but memories. And so my soul's been very awake. So learning that, but I know for me, one of the things that I have done in my life to help me get out of victimhood of my challenges, I'm going to call them, was, what is this here to teach me? And it wasn't that I was meant to learn what it was to teach me at that minute, but it put me into the observation mode instead of the feeling like I was the rock rolling down the hill, even though I was the rock rolling down the hill, but I had eyes as I was rolling down the hill, So I had awarenesses as I was going down the hill, because it is about what can we learn as we go in life. And that is the story of our soul's walk. A lot of souls are wanting to come on this earth because it's like, I want to learn, I want to learn, I want to learn, I want to learn. And then we're here, we're going, I don't want to learn, I don't want to learn. It's one of those things. So we have a couple comments here that I'm going to guys, thank you very much for being here, Guy. Definitely, we all think we are strong, but we are not. We are weak. And we are weak in a moment when life is hitting us. But it's that trying to get our we've been dragged down. Yes, we are weak, but it depends on what perspective we have.
Can I tap on that, Natasha?
Please do.
Because having, so my father is 89 and he is beginning his choice point of dying, and I'm it. I'm the one that is lives closest to him, and I'm it. He's depending on me more and more every minute. And and he would say he's weak, as he's unable to actually say, okay, let's get it done, I'm going to die. He would say, right now, this experience, he feels weak. But what it really is, weakness, Guy, from my personal experience, you don't have to live your life from my personal experience at all, but weakness really is vulnerability. And when we feel, as human beings, well, in the American culture at least, we've been taught not to be vulnerable. We have been taught to be strong. We have been taught to suck it up. We've been taught to go in there and, in the boardroom and whatever they say in those darn boardrooms.
Especially your father's generation.
Yes.
Especially your father's generation.
Exactly.
And Regan's generation.
Exactly. Because a lot of those people had to go and defend and fight for not just our country, but other people's countries that were being compromised. So the idea there of weakness really is a key to say, can I be vulnerable? And then to experience it. And allow yourself to experience it enough so you eventually can be not necessarily comfortable in vulnerability, but fluid in it. And in my personal experience, Guy, being vulnerable oftentimes becomes my strength.
Yes.
Because in the vulnerability, I can say what, like with my dad right now, I can say all that I need to say to him in preparation for him crossing over. I can say what I need to say to the doctors that are attempting to try and, deal with it. And I can also then be tender and loving to myself when I remember, because the vulnerability is what cracks us open to love, a deeper love, more love. And it's not just, and I'm not talking about loving somebody outside of you. I'm talking about loving yourself. And as the more I can allow myself to be vulnerable and those feelings that come up in the vulnerability, the stronger I become. So I just invite everyone to kind of contemplate, am I feeling weak because I am feeling out of control? Yeah. Am I feeling weak because I can't fix it? Yeah. Why are you feeling weak, right? Ask yourself that. Why am I feeling weak? And then if you can just be with that for a minute or two, you don't have to live it for a day or a year. You can open up to a more heart opening, more expansive experience of vulnerability that then allows you to be that light that Natasha has been talking about. Because that's the only way your light can shine, is if you're feeling if you allow that feeling of weakness or feeling vulnerable to then become your strength so you can shine more. And even in your anger or your sorrow or your frustration, you can still find a place of vulnerability, which becomes a loving kindness you do unto yourself.
Yeah, I found with my regular, even hypnotherapy clients, even if we're not talking spiritual, um, what I have them do in hypnosis is to befriend what's dragging them down. Even if it's for pain management, I have them imagine pain at the door as however it appears to them as a person, and have them come in, have them sit down, give them some cookies and milk, and talk, and it's funny, but it's just the shift in becoming vulnerable, as you say, and just like saying, "Hey, I got this problem. I'm so dragged down right now." And when you make friends with whatever's dragging you down, it ceases to have any power over you.
Yes.
It's like the power just leaves. So, just doing these little mental exercises about just picturing it as a person who's there just doing its job to teach you something. You could picture as a teacher with glasses and pens and everything there, and you going, how's all your pain doing? I've just sent some extra pain there today, so you could, you could think of something, or even if it's a karmic payback that you're getting, where sometimes we don't realize that that's what it is. When we look at our lives and we can't see anything that we did in this lifetime to deserve whatever we're getting, a lot of times it's just balancing the books of something you need to pay back. So it's better just to go, okay, let me just get this debt paid back. It's just like when you make a student loan and then all of a sudden you realize you got to pay it back, how painful that is,
Or you
because
take out a credit card. Oh, wait,
yeah,
I don't get those things for free.
yeah, I thought, it's paying it back is the hard part thing sometimes. And sometimes you got to go, okay, I just got to tighten the belt. It's going to be difficult for a little bit here, but I got to make double payments. And then people that do that, they come and they get a plan and they figure it out. And pretty soon they're on the other side of it and they go, wow, I'm never getting myself in debt like that again,
Yeah.
because it's too hard getting out.
So
But
Regan, what I hear you really talking about is the dance between between surrender and resistance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And resistance is how most people live their life. I'm not going to do that. I don't like those people because they do that. Whatever that resistant thing is that you
Is
feel is against you, pushing against you, making you do the thing you think you don't want to do, right? But in the grace, like Natasha mentioned earlier regarding her husband and his addiction, the grace comes in to allow us to surrender enough, just surrender a itty bitty bit. And that surrendering doesn't mean you're giving up. It doesn't mean you're weak, guy. Surrendering is where you open to spirit more and you open to receive the grace. You open to receive the assistance of other human beings or unseen angels that are here to support us. So the resistance is the thing that keeps us always in a quagmire, and the surrender often for people seems so challenging. I know it does for me at times.
Well, and I understand that, like we were talking about, the pandemic that went through, COVID, that, what I have witnessed is that when people go through grief, it is the one thing that disarms them.
Everything.
And that's the thing is like, and Guy, I'm going to bring your comment in here because there's a statement at the very end here that I want to talk to about. I agree that, I never thought I would be dragged down. I was the strongest person any person can be, but yet now I'm nothing. And then he just made another comment here. I've lost a good friend, and that should never have left this world. They're better people than me. Okay, so perspective. They should be sat in my place. Okay, so with that, and that's the thing though, that this world, the statements that you're making here, Guy, is that this is what the awakening that is happening is that we have to look at, no matter who somebody is, our stories from the past, who are parents, who are family, who are friends, who are world around us, who are commercials, who are TV shows, video games, whoever told us to be less than.
Yeah.
We have to decide that we're stronger than that. And grief, and I've witnessed this myself, losing my dad within 6 weeks of having my first child, having my second child 3 weeks later, finding my mom had Lou Gehrig's disease. Then 4 years after that, my uncle had Lou Gehrig's disease. Grief is the one thing that will strip you down, find you. It finds you so that you can be your better self. There was a time in my life where I didn't like anything of me, and I started to find that I had to find a part of me that I liked. So I started with my toes. Toes, thank you for balancing me. Thank you for loving me enough to balance me. Oh, feet, thank you for giving me a foundation. And then I worked my way up because I couldn't love me. I was so wrung out. After having a new baby, my mom with Lou Gehrig's disease, selling 3 houses, buying one, husband changed a job, dealing with an alcoholic, dealing with a 4-year-old. I was cooked and done. I was stripped. But that stripping made me now. That stripping gave me a place to take down my house that I was in and strip it all down, get as vulnerable as I can with myself to say, damn it, Natasha, it doesn't matter what other people said, because I couldn't read. I couldn't even read after high school, really. And so with that, then, people told me I was stupid and dumb. Well, is that my story? No, I actually am very smart. I've got knowings that nobody else really has because I trusted that part of me that I didn't read about.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And wasn't talked about.
And wasn't talked about at that time when I was younger. So I want you to know that the reason why you're still here is because you are meant to be here, Guy.
Oh.
You're meant to be here.
Yes.
And you're meant to be here. And when you get your feet underneath you and find out that you are valuable, you're going to find out that sometimes it's just walking into a grocery store and smiling at somebody, because that's what they needed that moment. And that's why you were here. And then the next place you go into and you smile at that person, and it builds. It's not one
Yeah.
thing that makes you be here. It's the addition and the addition and the addition and the addition. And then when you look back and you go, oh, like my mother of heart, after my mom passed away, a woman came in my life for 20 years. She was my mother of heart. She said on her deathbed, I have learned more about my life in the last 6 weeks of me not being able to get out of my bed than I have my whole life, because I was able to observe it. I was able to look back on it and say, holy crap, that's why that happened. And she was an enlightened soul. But,
Yeah.
So with that, going forward, so Guy, if you can, put a sticky note right in the middle of that mirror that you look at and say, I am valuable.
Yeah.
And so you keep seeing that, and you keep seeing that, and you keep seeing that, because you have to put it in an uncomfortable place so you could see it in a very vulnerable place, which is looking in the mirror.
Yeah. And Guy, time and time again, when I have people in deep trance and they go to the afterlife and spend a few hours and they talk to people that have passed on, and they ask them why, like if someone had a child that died early, why did you have to go? They always find the reasons for that. And there's always the reasons, and you'll find out that everything is just as it should be. They're right where they need to be right now, and you're right where you need to be right now. And if you're feeling, if you're feeling left behind, if you're feeling, sad that you should be dead instead of them, they're doing just fine over there. Okay, they're doing just fine over there, but you've got work to do still. So as soon as you kind of get through the grieving part, which everybody goes through a little bit, just kind of look around and go, why am I still left here on earth? And it's going to be, it's going to be for some reason. That it might only be that you need to befriend one person or to help one person in this life, but that can be, worth the whole life's lesson for that.
Yeah, and I can tell you that because my dad, he was a chiropractor. He was a light of this world, and he died of cancer back in 93. So with that, even the lights of this world leave us, but guess what? I got the greatest guide that ever I would want is my dad. My dad and I were two peas in a pod. Our soul groups were very close together. So, him and I are like two peas in a pod. And so with that now I have this great guide, and I can say the same thing, that your friend is right there supporting you, helping you get some paths. So good people, my good friends, deserve to be here. Yeah. So it's like this might be, and I'm just giving you a perspective here, that this example of your stripping yourself down might be an example of how you can find your self value. This might be why you're going through this. That's maybe why, in the big picture, why, not to say that the reason why your friend left, but a kind of a side effect of your friend leaving is so that you can find your self-value.
So I have a phrase I attach to: God abhors a vacuum. And what that means is when something empties out, the infinite, God, love, light, whatever you want to call it, pours itself in to fill it. So as people are leaving the planet, good or bad, there's more that comes back in to fill it and replenish and replace, or not replace, replenish. So if you can at some point allow your mind to soften a bit, and allow that infinite presence of source energy to begin to flow into those parts of you, those places that feel empty, and allow it to flow into those places that feel broken, you will be able to like Natasha is talking about, rebuild from a higher perspective and from a place where there's an infinite wisdom that resides within you already within your heart. If you allow that infinite presence, God, whatever you want to call it, to come in and fill those empty, broken spaces. When I was going through a really rough divorce, after 28 years, I felt like my whole heart was shattered. I felt like there was nothing left. And I had been trained by my now ex-husband that I was worthless, that I was not valuable, that I was not beautiful, that I was not blah, blah, blah. And so then when the divorce happened, I was so broken. And I remember days just sitting in my house going, okay, so who am I now? So maybe asking that question, who am I now? And then deciding what are the broken pieces of my life that I want to keep. It's like, do I want to keep all those pieces? No, I didn't want to keep all those pieces, I realized. And so what pieces did I want to keep? And I collected the pieces I wanted to keep of my life. And I began to build a strong foundation again of who am I? Who is Susan? Not who am I with this person or that person or because of, or any of that. And that's what helped me begin to crawl out of my victim story, and become more empowered, which is what I teach and what I talk about now, because it takes a lot of courage, but it also takes saying, okay, who am I now, and what pieces do I want to take with me to rebuild with?
And I can say the same thing, that I married an alcoholic. And he is a double Leo, and Leos tend to be narcissistic attitudes. Alcoholics are narcissist. So I lived with a tri-narcissist for probably 23 years of my marriage, 24 years of my marriage, right? And I was already feeling low self-esteem, even though, I knew if he called me stupid, which he tried a couple times, I told him that's not acceptable, because that just wasn't in my language, even the first when we first met. But as we started moving forward, it really taught me how to stand up in me. So even when those times when he was yelling at me and telling me things, I just had a in me going, "You're not going to treat me this way anymore." And I couldn't say it outwardly because that would be a major fight. But I would say that just in me, you know, I'm not allowing this anymore. This is not a, and his look would kind of get a little bit off because he knew that my energy changed. He couldn't explain it. He didn't know it in his 3D world, but he knew that there was something different. So, practicing that. And that's where I'm saying that, guy, you have to, in order to find the self-value, you have to find ways of doing that. And even if you put it, like for me, I had a note, I surrender, I accept, and I trust was on my bedside bed, so that I knew that I was going to surrender that day, or I was going to trust that day. And if I couldn't trust, I was going to accept that day. It was like there's these practices we can do to create our higher self, and it takes that willingness to persevere, to keep that wheel turning forward. We got to keep that wheel turning forward metaphorically.
Yeah, there's a book you could get, Guy, and there's 1,000,000 Souls, so you can probably get it on used books for $5 or $6, but it's just called Journey of Souls. And it's about this process. There's all these different case histories, and you're going to read about a lot of people that have been in similar situations as you, and how they found out the why to everything that helped them to accept it and to help them to move on, and to help them realize that they're never alone, and to help them realize that even right now that you have a guide or somebody that's there just waiting for you to connect, that can help you get through these things much easier, So it's tough being in school sometimes,
Yeah.
like some classes are harder than others, but it always feels good when you graduate. But there seems to be, once you graduate, there's always another school lined up for you to go through to learn a whole bunch of new things.
Exactly. I love that perspective, Regan. Thank you.
Yeah, I was shown how surrendering, how wonderful it is to surrender, and how you can still go through a lot of problems in life, but you can kind of breeze through them instead of it being crazy. It's just when I was in a place of total surrender, it was just on a trip to Texas, back and forth, and I broke down 5 different times. I told the story only one time, but every time I broke down, I just was like, all right, got a flat tire in the middle of Arizona, nobody around. Okay. And a moment later, here comes the tow truck behind, says, "Oh, you need some help?" Lifted it up, put the tire on for me. And 20 minutes later, I'm back on the road, and I'm going, wow, that was pretty cool. I get to my destination. Just as I get there, the whole engine blew up. The
Oh my
head
gosh.
gaskets went, and it happened to be, I was able to get it towed about, I don't know, 5 miles to a guy. I was there doing a show for 10 days, and he finished it that afternoon, rebuilding it. I didn't lose any time or anything. Went and picked it up,
Wow.
started driving back. Then I had a ride in Phoenix, Arizona on the way back to California. Carburetor blew up on me. I was stuck there, nowhere on the freeway. And then I realized, wait, my father-in-law lives in Phoenix. I called him up. It was on a Sunday. He knew a mechanic in the area, and he called him up. The guy came out, fixed my van. I had dinner with my father-in-law. Just so I'm done, the guy calls and says, "Well, got your carburetor, redone." It was just nothing. And then I'm almost home to Sacramento. And the pistons blew through the block, and all the oil went off on the freeway. And the whole engine was just dead then, and I'm 90 miles from home. I look over to my left on the freeway, and here's this place that has these big box vans that rebuilds engines right across the street. And I called him. He just came over, took it there. I mean, it was just, and it almost was the most beautiful experience to go through, because it was like, when it happened, I was just joyful, like, okay, it just blew up, and instead of like cursing and, oh, I'm stuck, and it could have been horrible. And I think that was just God's, that trip was like this whole learning experience to just surrender, no matter how hard or difficult something happens in life. Just kind of look around and go, oh God, after you cuss a little bit here and there, for about 10 minutes, and then you go, all right, here we are. Now what do I do?
Yeah.
You'll get through things,
And that's the thing. It's okay to have emotions.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be in the pit. It's better for us if we don't stay there.
Right.
I don't want to say it's wrong to stay there, but it's better for us if we don't stay there, that we move up, we move out it, we move through it. I know for me, it's like, holy freaking shit, why is that freaking happening to me? And then I go, okay,
yeah.
Now what do I do?
Do you find that too, Susan, that now that you're doing this, when you fall down in the mud, you get up a lot quicker and get back on the wagon and move forward?
Yeah, I do. I don't stay there for several days or years or whatever, but I have to kick and scream.
Yeah.
I have to kick and scream and curse and, whatever else in the moment. And then you just, my grandfather used to say, you pull yourself up by the bootstraps.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't mean that that's easy, but the Buddhists, in Buddhism, it's important that you feel your feelings, like Natasha was saying. It's
you totally, it's
Otherwise,
worthy to do that.
Otherwise, you just are suffering. That's the whole point of Buddhism, is to learn how to balance life so that you're not in suffering, but you're in learning and in acceptance and in surrender and all of that. So
Yeah. A master, a guy that I looked up to that was highly spiritual, told me, he said, one of the goals of being in life is to learn to be in the middle of a tornado and to be calm.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, it's all like your whole life's being torn up, but somehow in the middle of it, you can be all right. So I know resistance just causes more
resistance.
Pain.
Yep, it does.
Yeah. The more we push
really
it away,
does.
the more it attacks us. I had that happen with my brother just this last week. We were looking for golf balls next to the golf course, and it was in Tucson. So everything you touch has stickers, thorns.
Oh, yeah.
And so the very first one he reached down, it's like a thing that was about 3 inches long. It almost looked like it was shot out of a cannon into his hand. I mean, it just went deep into his hand. He didn't even like touch it. I don't know. It's just the weirdest thing. So here he's going, ow, 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 ow. He's got this 3-inch thing with needles stuck in his hand. He's got the golf ball there. And his wife is going, I told you not to go down and do, And so we had to find a way, because it's stickers all over, to grab it, to pull it out. So I found a sock we got, and we put it on. And when I tried to pull it out of him, it jumped into my hand and stabbed me, So I'm just sitting there going, ah. So we finally got it out, and it hurt for a little while, but an hour later we're just fine. So, but the rest of the week, I'll tell you, I learned the lesson. Anytime I found about 55 golf balls. That was about $200 worth of golf balls that I brought home in my suitcase. But it taught me to be very careful, when I reach in. So I thought that's a great lesson.
Great metaphor. Be careful. Be conscious of when you grab onto something, because there's a lot to experience with it.
Yeah.
So thank you, Sue, for putting that on Facebook too, so Guy can see that in the comments.
What was that Sue did? I missed that.
Oh,
what did Sue do?
So Sue said that the Journey of the Souls by Newton is on audiobook on YouTube, and it's free.
Really?
And then Guy says thank you. And then he also said, as much as I'm hurting, I'm sure learning. Good job, because that's a great, perspective, Guy. That's going to give you a tool to move forward. And then Guy, here's a link to the audiobook for Regan, and Regan mentioned, yeah. So there's the YouTube link, and so
if Guy just types in Journey of Souls YouTube, it'll probably come up. Don't you think?
Yes, probably. And I would say that for anybody. I would say that on it for anybody.
Yeah. And Susan, what's the name of your book again?
My book is called Live an Empowered Life, a 30-Day Journey book. It's actually a workbook. So
that's great.
My intention was that individuals could work through their own stuff and become self-empowered. But it also is linked to my website. So there's videos and tutorials and guided meditations, so that when you're working the book, you feel alone. I'm there every step of the way.
And you mentioned, and Guy, another thing that'll help you is download Insight Timer. It's one of the best meditation apps on the planet, and there's about 100 things you can do there. Even if you just want to listen to there's guided meditations on there that can help. There's probably some guided meditations for helping you deal with grief and different things, I'm sure. But even if you just listen to some of the beautiful music that's designed to kind of help you go within, and it'll help just to kind of soothe the pain and, to take you a little deeper within yourself. But you're just in a place that many of us have been, and I will guarantee you, and if you contacted the show in 5 years from now and you talk about, hey, I'm Guy from 5 years ago, and you're probably going to say, man, that was the best thing ever happened to me. You should see where I am now, and what I've learned, and how strong I've gone, how empowered that I am now, with myself. And that's what Susan's all about, is helping empower you, and Natasha and I. And we're still having other people that are people that I would say that are above us, that are pulling us up. So it's mentors. All of us. It's like there's always people above us and people below. And the thing is no ego involved. Just look around. If there's someone with a hand out, reach down and pull them up some way, even just by being kind or nice, or give them $5, whatever you want to do, And then always realize that there's somebody up there that can help pull you up a little bit more too, which is what we try to do in the show today, So it's been great having Susan here today. Susan, you're a ball of energy. I love you. And telling it like it is. I'm trying to learn to do that more and more, and not because I'm an Enneagram 9, which is a peacemaker, and we don't like to rock the boat. So I'm very careful with the words that I say. But something on this last trip, when I was in the middle of the desert or something, says, Regan, you need to speak up a little bit more, from what is truth, and whatever people think about it, they think about it, So I'm hopefully I'll be like you in a few years, Susan.
Wow.
There's something beautiful about that. Don't you feel good, Susan, when you can just say your piece and just say it and not have to hide what you feel, or hide what you know?
A majority of my life hiding. I didn't understand that that's what I was doing until I a couple years off and just did a really deep inner dive to see why I was operating the way I was. And it's because I was hiding because, well, look at me, I was born with bright red hair. I think I stand out like a sore thumb, but other people don't see me. So it was something within me that
Yes.
was causing them not to see me or hear me. So I've just done a lot of inner work to go, you know what? Life is too darn short.
Exactly. I had a situation when I was in Spain where I had a roommate that told me basically, I don't want to be your roommate anymore. I'm not going to talk to you anymore. And I went, oh, okay. And through that experience, I went, oh, okay. So how I perceive myself is how others perceive me. That's my mantra that came out of that.
Oh,
How I perceive myself is how others perceive me. And so I got to chance to practice that while I was in Spain with people I didn't know, going, okay, I can either be dyslexic, unworthy, and or I can be a knower, a seer, a beer. I can be in the moment. I don't have to be anything special. I could just be, because my voice is just as important as others. And Guy, I know you said this in the comments that you tried to not be here twice in this planet, and I'm so grateful you're here. And maybe the reason why you're here is to be here now. And and then he says, I stand out because you are a strong woman. Yeah.
We have
So
two strong women here right now.
yeah, yes. Thank you. So I hate to end it on this note, but it's already past the hour. So Susan, can you come back on again?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be
That would be
great. The hour
lovely.
goes really fast.
Yeah,
That would be
when your
lovely.
life gets a little bit less probably chaotic, might be a little bit.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? It just is.
It
So
is what it is.
it is
Exactly.
what it is. I have a
There's
mug.
peaks and then there's
I have
valleys
a
and then there's
mug that
peaks and then
says it
there's
is what
valleys.
it is. And Old Dominion wrote a song about it is what it is. And my spouse and I, when my mother was going through issues, we would just sing that song to each other. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Yep. I have this favorite song that I listen to, and it's from Shine Down, their rock group. You lose your one of the verses is you lose your way from the cradle to the grave, but in the end, how do you love? And that is my mantra. That is my song, and I listen to it every time I get a little bit quirked. And it's like, come back to love, come back to love,
Back to love.
come back to love.
It's the only reason why we're here.
Yeah. And one more thing, Guy, if you're still there, just one of the things we always, the saying that Natasha started on here that we love is just tell yourself and say this over and over again that that you love yourself as you're perfectly imperfect. Okay. And that'll help to start lessen you any self hatred or anything you have for yourself from the bad decisions you've made prior to this. Doesn't matter what you've done in the past if you've learned from it a little bit, because I'm sure now some of those things that you're looking, those decisions you made, if the same situation was up right now, I don't think you would take the road that you did previously, and that means you've learned. So we've all done bad things in the past, and hopefully we just continue to not do as many bad things in the future. But just love thyself. I love and accept myself is a good sentence to start saying to yourself, even though you're perfect and that you're perfectly imperfect.
Actually, can I tap on that for just
Yes.
really quick? I know we're out of time, but when I was going through divorce, the mantra I used all the time is, I love myself. I am loving. I love myself, and I love myself more than I ever have in my life.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. Yeah.
You're going to be
I know
all right,
and I grew up with my dad saying to me, at this minute in time, you make this information. Another week from now, you'll have other information and you wish you would have made another decision back then, but you weren't. You were in that moment being who you were. And so all you can do is move forward and say, and I used that mantra a lot when I was dealing with my mom with Lou Gehrig's disease, because I knew that I was going to look back 3 years later and go, God, why did I do different? But I remembered that I was so freaking tired, and dealing with life. So, I love that mantra. Can you say that again, please, Susan, so we can leave with that?
I am loving, and I love myself more than I ever have in my life. It's what built myself up from the inside out.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I think that's a great place to stop this. Susan, can you mention a couple places where people can reach you, please?
The best thing is to go to my website, Susan Burrell, BURRELL.com. And everything's there. You can find my podcast, Empowering Chats with Susan Burrell. You can find the Insight Timer icon at the bottom of every page. Click on that. It takes you right to my guided meditations that are loaded on Insight Timer. And there's something. Oh, and you can access my book, Live an Empowered Life, a 30-Day Journey. There's something else there, but hey, and if you sign up for the newsletter, you'll get a free guided meditation called Out of the Box Thinking.
Great. Yeah, and
Cool.
on my website, there's at Visit the Afterlife, some great videos. There's a free book on there, Guy, if you're interested. You just ask for it on the contact page, and I'll send you a free ebook. It's about all the current research that's being done on past lives, and it's blow your mind on how much proof is out there now.
Huge.
It's huge, yeah. And Natasha, what about you? How can they get a session with you or find you?
You can reach me at angelicclarifications.com. And I so enjoy, I have this new healing technique that I'm doing where I go back into our personal DNA and we do some healing work in our personal DNA. And then while we're doing that, I go back into your past lives and work on some of those. And it's an amazing healing aspect. People, when they leave me, they're like, oh my gosh, my life just, they have no words because their life, they can feel their life go kook, and it's amazing healing technique. And so I love to do that, I love to help people work through who they are. So Guy, thank you for being here. And I'm glad he mentioned that he needed this tonight. So thank you for being here. Thank you all. So we are here Mondays at 4:00 Pacific time for the Dance of Soul. And I am on Life Clarifications with Natasha on Wednesdays. And this week I am going to be talking about worthiness. So with that,
A good one. Yeah.
Yeah, so I will be seeing you guys, and we are here on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. Thank you all for being here, and thank you, Susan, for being here. I knew this was going to be magical tonight, so thank you for following through with my intuition.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, please stick around. We'll be right back. So see you. Blessings to all, and know you are deeply loved by everyone who is helping you on the other side, and include yourself on that.
There we
Blessings
go.
be.